All right, let's go to some other issues. Lot to get through now. Issues of tonight, issues of last night, and a fair bit overseas as well. Joining me now for his analysis in Melbourne is the foreign editor of The Australian, Greg Sheridan. Let's start with the leaders' debate. Greg, you've been around a long time observing politics. I thought both of them performed well enough. The votes in the room sort of ended up where the polls are. This is anyone's race, but I tell you, I wrote about this in The Australian today. I just wish we had more policy meat on the table from both sides.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Peter. I thought it was a pretty good debate last night. They were both in good form. I thought the Prime Minister killed Albo on the boat's turnaround, but I thought Albo had much the better of the Solomon Islands exchange where the government has suffered a disaster. I think the pile-on Morrison for the autism comments is utterly ridiculous. I saw the debate and he said something like, I'm blessed to have had, my kids are lucky not to have had the health challenges. Now, does that really imply that anyone who has had health challenges is being demonised by the Prime Minister? I just think there is an absurdity, and you're quite right. If he'd stepped in front of a female candidate the way Albo did, it would have been the end of the world. But I guess you've just got to grin and bear it with that kind of madness. I agree with you about the characterisation of the campaign. This is a low-rent campaign. All the huge issues afflicting Australia, the huge structural deficit we've baked in, our woeful education standards, the absolute shattering, terrible performance we've got on productivity, our complete failure to produce any relevant defence capabilities in the next 10 or 15 years. None of these issues, our $1 trillion of debt, none of that's up for discussion. It's, was Scomo theoretically crossing a verbal line in his reference to disabled kids? It's a low-rent campaign.
And we've never had more challenges. I mean, particularly in the security front, we've never had more challenges. We can see that now with the issue in the Solomon Islands, which we'll come to in a moment. But what concerns me, and we saw it again with this revamped Mediscare campaign, this time targeting pensioners, we had a Labor frontbencher, Mark Butler, letting the cat out of the bag on ABC Radio today, admitting that the PM nor the Social Services Minister, neither of them have said there'll be a cashless welfare card. He's publicly out that. Now, we've got the printed version of what he said, but I can't find that posted anywhere on the ABC site, so they want to bury that. They're still running the scare campaign. They're still making this about personalities. The lies aren't going to stop, Greg.
No, you're absolutely right. The Mediscare campaign is a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. The government, nobody could accuse it of not spending enough money. It's spending like 5 million drunken sailors all gone crazy. It's spewing money out. It's got spigots spraying money at every voter it can find. And Labor is claiming it's going to cut Medicare. That is utterly ridiculous. To be fair, the government is making also dishonest claims about Labor, talking about a mining tax and a carbon tax and all the rest of it, when Labor's policy is not to do that. The difference, I guess, is that the media tends to pick up Labor's scare campaigns and run with them, whereas they tend to dismiss the government's scare campaigns. But it's a very low rent kind of tactic. You don't debate. I mean, you remember those old-fashioned days when John Howard proposed a real reform, the GST, and we had a debate about a real reform, or the Keating, when he was Treasurer, deregulated, the financial system, and we had a real debate about that. Now we live in performative symbolism, substance, shadow scare campaigns, memes, internet conspiracies. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I have the strong preference for reality over fantasy.